He stood in that airport security line, 3 guards holding him back, screaming her name while strangers recorded everything. 12 years. 12 years he'd waited, killed for his family's empire, became the monster they wanted, all while counting down the days until he could come back for her. His Black Queen. The woman his family said he could never have. And now she was running. Again. But this time, Minjay wasn't letting her go. Not when he'd just burned his entire billion-dollar legacy to the ground. For her. This is the story of a promise that refused to die, a love that survived a dozen years of separation, and the night everything changed in Las Vegas. But before we dive in, quick favor, hit that subscribe button and comment below where you're watching from right now. Your support keeps these stories coming, and I love seeing this community grow from all over the world. Now let's get into this emotional roller coaster. The black Maserati tore through Atlanta's midnight streets like a bullet through silk. Seo Minjay's knuckles were white against the steering wheel, his jaw set hard enough to crack teeth. 12 years. 12 goddamn years since he'd driven these roads, and every corner screamed her name. Lillian Adams, his Black Queen. The woman who'd owned his soul since he was 16 years old. He'd killed men in Las Vegas, broken bones, ended lives, built an empire on blood and fear. None of it, not one single second of power, had ever filled the hole she left behind. The jazz lounge appeared like a ghost from his past. Adams' Jazz Lounge, the sign read, glowing soft amber against the humid Atlanta night. Minjay cut the engine and sat there, heart hammering against his ribs like it was trying to escape. Through the windows, he could see people laughing, drinks flowing, a saxophone player making the air shimmer with sound. This was her world, the world his family had ripped him away from. He stepped out of the car, and the southern heat wrapped around him like an old memory. Magnolias, humidity, the distant sound of a train. Everything he'd tried to forget in the desert cold of Las Vegas. Inside, the music hit him first. Raw, soulful, real in a way nothing in his life had been for over a decade. Then a voice behind the bar made him freeze. "Help you with something, son?" Marcus Adams hadn't changed much. Older, grayer, but those eyes still carried the same protective fire they'd had when Minjay was a skinny Korean kid sneaking glances at his daughter. "Mr. Adams," Minjay said, his voice rougher than he intended. "It's Seo Minjay." Recognition flickered across Marcus's face, followed immediately by something harder. He set down the glass he'd been polishing with deliberate care. "Minjay," Marcus said slowly, "heard you made quite a name for yourself out west." The unspoken words hung heavy between them. "Heard you became exactly what your family wanted. Heard you forgot about my daughter." "I never forgot," Minjay said, his voice dropping low. "Not for one single day." Marcus studied him for a long moment, the kind of look that could strip a man down to his bones. Finally, he reached under the bar and pulled out a slip of paper. "She built something," Marcus said. "Something beautiful. Adams Youth Music Academy, over on Auburn Avenue. She teaches kids who got nothing, gives them everything." He slid the paper across the bar. "You break her heart again, and I don't care what family you come from or how many men you got, I'll end you myself." Minjay took the paper, his hands surprisingly steady despite the earthquake happening inside his chest. "I'm here to keep a promise I made 12 years ago, Mr. Adams. I'm here to bring her home." The academy was a converted church, all red brick and stained glass that caught the morning light like captured prayers. Minjay sat in his car across the street for 20 minutes, watching children stream inside with instrument cases and backpacks. His heart was a war drum. His throat was sand. Then she appeared. Lillian Adams walked up those steps like she owned the sun. She'd changed, grown into herself in ways that made his chest physically ache. Her hair was natural now, a crown of curls that framed her face. She wore a simple yellow dress that moved like music, and when she smiled at a little boy struggling with a violin case, Minjay forgot how to breathe. He was out of the car before he made the decision to move. The academy's interior was all warm wood and natural light. Children's artwork covered the walls, splashes of color and hope. Piano music drifted from somewhere deeper in the building, and Minjay followed it like a man following a lighthouse through a storm. She was at the piano, surrounded by 6 kids, her fingers dancing across keys while she sang something about rhythm and feeling. She didn't see him at first. He stood in the doorway, drinking in the sight of her like a man dying of thirst. Then her eyes lifted. The world stopped. Her fingers froze on the keys. Her mouth opened slightly, and he watched 12 years of questions, anger, hurt, and hope flicker across her face in seconds. "Class dismissed," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Go to Ms. Johnson's room." The children scattered, sensing something monumental in the air. When the last one left, silence crashed down like thunder. "Lillian," Minjay said, and her name on his tongue was a prayer and a confession. "You're not real," she said, standing slowly. "You're not actually standing in my classroom right now." "I'm real." He took a step forward. "I'm here. I came back." 12 years, Minjay. Her voice cracked on his name. 12 years of nothing. Not a call, not a letter, not a single word. "They watched everything," he said, urgency bleeding into his voice. "Every phone, every account, every move I made. If I'd contacted you, they would have..." He stopped, swallowing hard. "They would have hurt you to control me." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "So you just left? You just disappeared?" "No." He closed the distance between them in 3 strides. "I promised I'd come back. I swore on my life. Did you really think I'd break that promise?" "I thought you forgot about me," she whispered. "I thought you became who they wanted you to be and left me behind." "Lillian." He reached for her face, stopping just short of touching her. "I became exactly who they wanted. Cold, dangerous, powerful. But every single night for 12 years, I fell asleep thinking about you, about this place, about the music you used to play just for me." His voice dropped to something raw and broken. "You were the only real thing in my life. You still are." She closed the gap, pressing her cheek into his palm, and Minjay's soul clicked back into place. They talked for hours, sitting on the piano bench, their knees touching, 12 years of life compressed into desperate conversation. She told him about building the academy from nothing, about the kids she taught, about the dreams she'd held onto even when everything else fell apart. He told her carefully edited versions of Las Vegas, the business, the power, the hollow victories that meant nothing without her. "I have something to ask you," he said as afternoon light slanted through the windows. "And you can say no. You probably should say no." She watched him with those eyes that had always seen straight through him. "My birthday's in 2 weeks, 28. My family's throwing this thing in Las Vegas. Big, excessive, everything they are." He took her hand, marveling at how perfectly it fit in his. "Come with me. Be there. Let me show them that you're not going anywhere." "Minjay, your family hates me. My family doesn't know you. And I don't care what they think anymore." He lifted her hand to his lips. "I'm asking you to trust me one more time. To give me a chance to prove that promise I made 12 years ago wasn't just words." She was quiet for a long moment, fear and hope warring in her expression. Finally, she nodded. "One chance," she whispered. "Don't make me regret it." Las Vegas hit Lillian like a slap of neon and sin. The city spread below them, all glittering lights and broken promises, as Minjay's driver navigated toward the Seo family's crown jewel, the Obsidian Casino and Hotel. 50 stories of black glass and money. "You okay?" Minjay asked from beside her. He'd barely stopped touching her since she arrived, a hand on her back, fingers laced with hers, like he was afraid she'd disappear. "I'm terrified," she admitted. "Good. That means you're smart." He squeezed her hand. "But I've got you. I promise." The penthouse suite was obscene. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the strip. Marble everything. Furniture that cost more than cars. Lillian had been given a room to change in, and now she stood in front of the mirror, barely recognizing herself. The black dress had been Minjay's gift. Designer, custom-fitted, with gold threading that caught the light like captured starlight. She looked powerful, dangerous. Nothing like a music teacher from Atlanta. "You look like a queen," Minjay said from the doorway, and the heat in his eyes made her knees weak. "I look like I'm playing dress-up in someone else's life." He crossed to her, taking her face in both hands. "You look like you belong beside me, which you do, which you always have." He kissed her forehead gently. Ready to shock some people? The party was everything Minjay had warned her about and worse. Hundreds of people packed into the penthouse ballroom, men in suits that cost more than most people's annual salary, women dripping in diamonds, an undercurrent of violence beneath every polished smile. This was the world of organized crime dressed up and playing civilized. Lillian felt every eye turn toward her when she entered on Minjay's arm. The weight of judgment pressed down like atmosphere. She heard the whispers, not the words, but the tone. Speculation, dismissal, prejudice dressed up in expensive cologne. Minjay's hand tightened on her waist. "Ignore them. Kind of hard when they're all staring. Let them stare." He guided her through the crowd, nodding at people but never stopping. They're about to learn something. Near the center of the room, Minjay stopped. Someone killed the music. The crowd fell silent, hundreds of eyes suddenly locked on them. Minjay's parents stood near the bar, his father tall and severe, his mother elegant and cold. Their expressions were carefully neutral, but Lillian saw the fury beneath. "Thank you all for coming," Minjay said, his voice carrying effortlessly. "I appreciate you celebrating with me, but there's someone I need to introduce you to. Someone more important than any business deal or alliance in this room." Lillian's heart hammered. This was it, the moment of no return. "This is Lillian Adams," Minjay continued, pulling her closer, "and I'm going to marry her." The silence that followed was deafening. Then chaos, whispers erupting like wildfire, shocked faces, his mother's champagne glass hitting the floor. Minjay looked down at Lillian, and his smile was pure defiance. There, now they know. The party continued around them in a daze. People approached with false congratulations and thinly veiled hostility. Lillian smiled and nodded, Minjay's presence beside her the only thing keeping her grounded. But she saw his parents watching, calculating, waiting. After midnight, after most guests had filtered away drunk and gossiping, Lillian excused herself to find the bathroom. The penthouse was a maze of hallways and rooms, and she got turned around. That's when she heard voices from a partially open door. "Absolutely unacceptable." Minjay's mother's voice cut like glass. "That woman is not joining this family." "She already is part of this family, Mother." Minjay's voice was cold steel. "I told you what was happening." "You told us you were infatuated," his father's voice boomed. "Not that you were throwing away everything we built for some—" "Choose your next words very carefully, Father." Lillian's hand went to her mouth. She should leave. She should walk away. But her feet wouldn't move. "We will cut you off," his mother said. "Completely. No money, no position, no protection. You'll be nothing." "Then I'll be nothing, with her." "Minjay, be reasonable." His father's voice turned almost pleading. "This isn't just about love or some childhood fantasy. This is about legacy, about blood, about maintaining." "About maintaining what? Your prejudice? Your control?" Minjay's laugh was bitter. "I've spent 12 years becoming who you wanted. Cold, ruthless, powerful. I've done things that haunt me, become someone I hate, all to earn your respect. And you know what I learned? Silence. Your respect isn't worth having. Not if it means giving her up." His voice softened. "I love her. I've loved her since I was 16 years old. She's the only good thing that's ever happened to me. And I'm done choosing you over her." "Then you're choosing war," his father said quietly. "Because we will not accept this. And if you continue down this path, you'll be on your own. No family, no support, nothing." "Then I choose war." Lillian's vision blurred with tears. She couldn't do this. She couldn't let him destroy himself for her. Moving on autopilot, she found a piece of hotel stationery and a pen. "Minjay," she wrote, her hand shaking. "I heard everything. I can't let you sacrifice everything for me. You deserve the life you were born for. Please don't look for me. I'm so sorry. I love you too much to let you lose everything. L." She left the note with Victor, the stern-faced family enforcer who'd been kind to her, and fled into the night. The taxi ride to the airport was a blur of tears and streetlights. Lillian kept her phone off, knowing Minjay would call, knowing she couldn't answer. This was the right thing, the only thing. He'd realize that eventually. She was in the airport security line when she heard the commotion behind her. "Lillian!" She turned, and Minjay was there, running through the terminal like a madman. Security guards shouting, people diving out of his way. His tie was gone, his shirt half unbuttoned, his face a mask of desperate determination. "Don't get on that plane," he shouted. "Please, baby, don't you dare get on that plane." Security grabbed him. 3 guards dragged him back while he fought like a caged animal. "I don't care what they said," he yelled. "I don't care about the money or the power or any of it. You hear me, Lillian? None of it matters without you." She was crying so hard she could barely see. People were recording on their phones. Security was threatening to arrest him, and Minjay just kept fighting, kept reaching for her. "I love you," he screamed. "I've loved you for 12 years, and I'll love you for 12 more and 12 after that. Don't leave me again." Lillian dropped her bag and ran. She hit him like a hurricane, and security stumbled back in confusion. Minjay caught her, lifting her off the ground, burying his face in her neck. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry. I thought I was protecting you." "The only thing that destroys me is losing you," he said fiercely. "Everything else is just noise." They stood there in the middle of McCarran Airport, holding each other while security decided whether to arrest them, and Lillian made her choice. "Take me home," she whispered. "Not Las Vegas, not Atlanta, just wherever you are." They drove through the night, heading east. Minjay called his assistant and quit. Just like that, 12 years of building an empire, gone with a phone call. Lillian watched the desert give way to plains, then hills, then finally the familiar humidity of the south. "What are we going to do?" she asked as dawn broke over the Georgia state line. "Whatever we want," Minjay said simply. "I've got money saved, money they can't touch. It's not billions, but it's enough. We'll figure out the rest." They arrived at her small house in Atlanta as the sun rose. Lillian's father's car was already in the driveway. Victor must have called him. Marcus met them at the door, took one look at their faces, and pulled them both inside. "You kids hungry?" he asked. And just like that, it started. A new life, built on their terms. Minjay threw himself into the academy with the same intensity he'd once reserved for criminal enterprise. He secured grants, convinced donors, used his business acumen for something that actually mattered. Local news picked up the story. Reformed Mafia Heir turned community advocate. And suddenly the academy had waiting lists. They lived simply at first, in Lillian's small house, learning each other again. 12 years had changed them both, and they spent months peeling back layers, finding the people they'd become, and falling in love all over again. 4 months after Las Vegas, Minjay's phone rang with an unknown number. He almost didn't answer. "Minjay." His father's voice was strange, smaller somehow. "We need to talk." The meeting happened at a neutral restaurant, just Minjay and his parents. Lillian insisted he go alone, though he hated leaving her. His parents looked older, tired. His mother's hands shook slightly as she lifted her coffee cup. "We were wrong," she said simply. Minjay waited. "We had you investigated," his father continued. "You're Lillian. What she's built. What she does for those kids. We saw articles, testimonials, the impact she's having." He paused. "We saw someone we should have seen 12 years ago. Someone extraordinary." "You're 12 years too late," Minjay said coldly. "We know." His mother's voice cracked. "But we're hoping it's not too late to fix this. To have you back in our lives. Both of you." She's not a bargaining chip. She's not something you grudgingly accept. No, his father agreed. She's the woman who saved our son, who made you more than we ever could. And we'd like the chance to know her, to support what you're building together, if you'll let us. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. The Academy's recital hall was packed. Parents, kids, teachers, and in the back row, looking distinctly out of place, Minjay's parents. They'd shown up like he asked, and now they sat watching their son help a nervous 8-year-old adjust his violin. Lillian appeared beside Minjay, radiant in the stage lights. "Ready?" she whispered. "For what?" She smiled mysteriously and took the microphone. "Before we start tonight's recital, there's something I need to do. Minjay Seo, could you join me on stage, please?" Confusion crossed his face, but he walked up. The kids were giggling, clearly in on something. 12 years ago, Lillian said, her voice steady despite the emotion in her eyes. A boy made me a promise. He said he'd come back for me, and he did. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small box. Now I'm making him a promise. Minjay's eyes went wide. "Minjay, you saw me when no one else did. You fought for me when the world said we were impossible. You gave up everything so we could have something real." Her voice shook. "So I'm asking you, in front of all these witnesses, will you marry me?" The room erupted. Kids cheered. Parents cried. Minjay stood there, this powerful man who'd survived a dozen years in the underworld, and tears poured down his face. "Yes," he choked out, pulling her into his arms. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." In the back row, his mother wiped her eyes, and his father's stern face cracked into something like joy. 2 months later, at the Botanical Gardens, they said their vows. Marcus walked Lillian down an aisle lined with roses and magnolias. Minjay's parents sat beside her family, their once divided worlds merging. Children from the Academy performed during the ceremony, their music filling the air with hope. When Minjay kissed his bride, he tasted 12 years of waiting, of fighting, of never giving up. "Forever," he whispered against her lips. "Forever," she agreed. The honeymoon was a cabin in the North Carolina mountains. No phones, no world, just them. They hiked during the day and talked through the night. Lillian painted while Minjay read. They made love and made plans and slowly, carefully, healed the wounds that 12 years had left behind. One morning, Lillian woke up sick, then the next morning, and the next. The pregnancy test showed 2 lines, then the ultrasound showed 2 heartbeats. Minjay sat in the doctor's office, staring at the screen showing 2 tiny forms, and felt his heart expand beyond what he thought possible. "Twins," he breathed. Lillian squeezed his hand. "A boy and a girl." He kissed her knuckles, then her temple, then her stomach. "We're going to be amazing parents." "You sure? We don't exactly come from ideal family situations." "Then we'll be better. We'll show them what love actually looks like." The twins arrived on a spring morning, perfect and screaming. The boy had Lillian's expressive eyes. The girl had Minjay's sharp features and stubborn chin. Both grandfathers argued over who got to hold them first until Lillian's mother intervened and declared she went first. In that hospital room, watching his parents coo over their grandchildren while Marcus and Minjay's father traded dad jokes, Minjay felt something click into place. This was what he'd been fighting for. This was what 12 years of waiting had been about. The twins' first birthday party at the Seo estate was chaos and joy. The mansion that had once felt like a prison now rang with children's laughter. Lillian's students performed. Korean and soul food covered tables side by side, and both families mingled freely. Marcus and Minjay's father stood together, watching the kids play. "Never thought I'd be standing in your house sharing grandkids," Marcus said. "Never thought I'd be grateful for it," Minjay's father admitted. "But that girl of yours, she's something special." "Damn right she is." Lillian found Minjay standing at the window, watching the party below. She slid her arms around his waist. "You okay?" she asked. He turned, pulling her close, their children visible over her shoulder playing with cousins they never should have had. "I waited 12 years for this," he said softly. 12 years to get back to you, to build this life, to have this family. He cupped her face, his thumbs brushing her cheekbones. "And I'd wait 12 more if I had to. You're still my queen, Lillian. You always were." She kissed him, soft and slow, tasting like forever. "Then I guess it's a good thing we have forever to figure it out." The party continued around them. Families merged, children playing, music drifting through rooms that had once known only coldness and control. And in the center of it all, Seo Minjay held his black queen close, and finally came home. Not to Atlanta or Las Vegas or any place on a map, home to the only place that ever mattered, her heart, and the life they'd built from 12 years of faith, fighting, and a love that refused to die. Minjay and Lillian finally got there forever. But not everyone's love story ends with a second chance. If this story hit you in the feels, smash that like button and subscribe so you never miss the next one. Drop a heart in the comments if you believe in fighting for love, no matter the cost. The next story waiting for you on screen? Click it now. Trust me, you need to see how this one ends. Until next time, remember, some promises are worth waiting 12 years to keep. I'll see you in the next story.